Hello, I'm here to introduce you to Deep Lab's LSM, large signal model no code solution called drag and drop AI. With it, you can harness the power of an LSM to find business actionable insights within your data and harness the power of the world state with little to no code. So to start off, let's create a project. So what I'm going to do is get a data set I downloaded from Kaggle, which provides open source data that we have full rights to. It's credit card data set. So the first step is to take that data set and drag and drop it into our data load section. Now our first tier AIs are looking at that data set and finding out the field columns, what field types might be, columns might be of interest, and how to best use them. We click view data and we see the data here. So this is typical payment data that's been loaded in. So now we go and we have to define the focus. What's the focus? It's what we want the AI to focus its attention on, to look at. Now, we're not doing a supervised model here. We're doing a semi-supervised model. Now, why would you use that? It's great in load times when you don't really trust the variable you want to look at. Say you think fraud rate is much higher, or much lower because you think there could be potential chargeback issues. Money Mule, you know that there's a bunch of fake users. You caught a few, but you don't know who they all are. That's a perfect use for this type of modeling. Or say you want to find everybody who spends more than $20. You want to give them encourage them to spend more, but you don't build a model predicting who already spent 20. You want to find people similar to them who didn't spend 20 and be able to encourage them to spend more. Those are all great use cases where the semi-supervised model is superior to the supervised one. So for this in payment, we will pick fraud, fun. And the world state, the AI said, hey, you have a date time. Let's try to append the world state. The world state are pre-compiled LSM models from our data lake. And we have economic indicators, daily weather indicators, daily news indicators, holiday data, risk data on, say, software exploits. And we have all these models running daily, finding out what are the trends in that data and what's unusual in that data, and then being able to provide that in real time to our cloud service. You can access that through the world state. And not all of them are of the interest. Like right here, I turned off software risk. You might not want to use some of them. You can turn them off. And that helps in a sense that if you don't really care about that or you don't think it's impactful, you don't want the AI to spend more time thinking about it. You can leave them all on and it won't have that much of an impact though. So when you click the model, it runs through a series of AIs, and we have a paper that can outline what's happening in the back end. But what it's really doing is it's looking and trying to take that data, get it to a form that an AI can understand and create what we call a knowledge graph. And a knowledge graph is really just a way of representing data. If you think of Wikipedia, you know how you have Wikipedia, you start clicking links on information, it takes you through this whole web of different facts. That's a knowledge graph. And you might look at your columnar data and think, where's the knowledge graph in there? But there is. There's like, how does this particular cell, column, record associate with the other one? What are the links there? And what the LSM model, one of the core things it does is creates all those links in a structure that AI can understand. And when an AI can understand it, it can find things that are very tricky for other processes to find. And so this case, we had a total of 108 segments, or 103 segments. We found two that are very linked to focus. We found a number of key facts are 18. And so we find when time is of a low value, the number of times focus is true is more frequent. Now, what does that mean? That's sort of our generic process, our generic prompt we use for our LLM. And we take that, we process it through Llama, which is provided by Meta. And it says the likelihood of a credit card fraud occurring during the early morning hours between midnight and 8 p.m. is higher for several reasons. Low traffic, fewer transactions. That is the LLM's interpretation of the LSM knowledge graph. And so, it takes these these factoids, these linkages, and makes it human digestible. And that's one of the key powers of why we create that knowledge graph. It's really having sort of sympathy for the LLM to figure out what do you make of all this columnar data. Um, Now let's see how the AI sees the world. It sees it, of course, in numbers. And what we're looking at is, say, just the top fraud group. I think it's the two top groups. Within the two top segments, we the average focus was 72% fraud. That was pretty much, those groups were all fraud. And we can see them right here. And I bet you if you look really, really hard in that data set, the other ones were probably fraudulent as well. That's the power of the unsupervised technique. Let's quickly go and look at, let's say, a typical focus. And we look at what are the sort of factors and that would make what are the columns that are making it more typical, and we see it's the type the amount shipping to United Kingdom. These are sort of things that are sort of a typical transaction in terms of fraud. What if is, we could say, what if the day is almost all the cluster group, everything is on Wednesday, so we find basically a cluster group that's all Wednesday. How is that different than the others? We see that we have a lower spend amount. It's less likely to be Barclays, and some other indications of how that group is different than the other segments. Now we have the first summary tab was insights provided by that focus on the focus. We also can look at outliers, and we see United Kingdom is an outlier transaction compared to the other groups. Those are very different transactions than the rest of the population, and they have a different sort of. These are probably all characteristics associated with United Kingdom transactions. And so those are the unusual data sample in there. So that gives you a very fast overview of our no-code LSM solution, drag and drop AI. Thank you so much for taking time to listen.